All right, so my brain hurts a little bit, right?
Yeah,
and that was part of the plan. We talked about that from the very beginning.
Told you that, yeah.
Right, that we would have my brain hurt. But I think you're right. I mean, we talked about this on the phone. My question was, can we take me, who's never sanded before, can we make me proficient enough in a few hours, or however many hours we spent together, to get out a scratch?
I feel comfortable taking out a small scratch.
I don't feel comfortable sanding a whole hood.
No.
But even this, where I sanded this whole area, I mean, what my fear is with sanding is that I get a deep scratch and then I made it worse than what it was before, right? And so I think it's pretty clear that, we can turn, even just watching through this series, if you get yourself a test something, I wouldn't go out to your Bugatti and start sanding on it, but
wouldn't be recommended.
Right? Can we take out? Can you go get a test panel, or maybe go to the wife's car they don't care about, and maybe sand out a scratch?
Yeah. Or go, when I teach, and we did this, teach at the highest level, the worst of the worst possibilities, the Scotch Brite and the deep key scratches, and see where you're at.
Yeah.
See where you're at. See where you need to learn. See where you need to improve.
And that's what I did this morning. So this is day 2, right? I came in before you guys were here. No pressure. I don't have you guys watching me, standing over me.
Just doing your thing.
Right. I tested my thing, and then tested sanding, and I was able to get pretty good results.
Fantastic.
You did a great job, and when it came to compounding, you were able to compound it very quick and efficiently, and it looked great.
Right, and it is very clear to me, and this is part of, I think, I talked about this in opening the video. You have sanders and no sanders, right? It's kind of like right wing and left wing, right? These extremists, and even though you would be on the sanding side of the pendulum. You only sand when you're supposed to sand.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
We only sand when it's safe, when it's proper. We don't, like when we showed on the black hood over there on the right side there was a scratch that would have been great. I would have loved to get that out completely.
Absolutely.
But we would have had to remove too much paint. It would have damaged the panel, right? Yeah. And then there are instances where it makes sense to sand on a factory hood because we would remove less paint than either grabbing a rotary or even a microfiber pad.
It's less destructive to the paint, meaning that a machine on the surface warms it up, it heats it up, and that's by nature because it's friction. So it's not getting warm, it's more consistent. And there's times to sand and not to sand. You really need to know where you're at. And as a professional, always make it apparent to the customer you're on the same page. That's the worst thing, is burning through a car. And I have burnt through cars, but I've made it aware to the customer that this is
that's a possibility
outside the realm. So it's not a
we have a 12-inch scratch here.
Yeah.
You're measuring 100 microns or 75 microns. Look, you're going to have to paint this anyway. We might be able to
save it.
Yeah, we might be able to buy you more time or possibly save it, but just know that 6 months from now we could have UV failure or issue and you're going to have to go paint.
I mean, a case in point, me and Nick Chapman did a car for Gas Monkey Garage that was going to Pebble Beach. Black single stage. It had 25 microns, and we sanded it. Is that a no-go? Absolutely. But there was constraints on the time and just on everything. The car, it was not in the cards to tear the car apart, refinish it, resurface it.
So you had to make do with what you had at the time,
Another case in point this year at SEMA. My good friend built a Mustang in the Ford booth, and we didn't have time to repaint the car. So he said, Jason, can we sand it, our factory finish, polish it out, and coat it? And we did. And it looked way better than a Peely show car. There was just no time. So I've come into many cases where we have to think outside the box, where longevity isn't really necessarily a part of a thought process.
Right.
It's get in, get it out type of thing, where it's not a daily driven car where it sees the UV.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I could see myself Trizact 3000 grit, using the KXK Rid sticks, the small, using that to spot treat a scratch. I'm going to remove a lot less paint doing that.
Essentially 1/10 at its max.
Than I would just on edge, grinding away with
Yeah.
microfiber in a compound to try to get that scratch out.
Yeah.
I could really see myself using 3000 grit often.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing about the punches, going to segue with that, is we have a 2-inch punch where you can punch discs out to fit around it. I mean, you don't have to, but it's very nice to have.
I did notice it's nicer to use the little circle rather than trying to cut out a piece of square.
It's more efficient, definitely.
So what about, in finishing up our little sanding topic here, what about, like, we didn't have a bucket here with paper sitting in a bucket for hours. Do I not need a bucket? I mean, I've always envisioned like this whole area, the walls would be wet, we'd have water all over the place.
Compound splattered, all that.
Right.
Yesterday it was a little chaotic with that hood. It was a circus.
Right.
But still, your floor, minus than the dust from blowing out the pad for the efficiency, we're still fairly clean.
So we don't need gallons of water to do sanding?
Personal preference. The thought process between soaking the paper is it's going to have latex on the back and also latex on the front, where the latex over the abrasive actually protects the abrasive from being shifted in shipping. That's what I was told. Whether I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. So the soaking of the paper in very hot, warm water softens up the latex and softens up the paper, so it's not crunchy and it folds better. Doesn't have any difference in performance. That's the end user. Does a little bit of soap help? Again, that's the end user. I don't use soap. I personally, I like to feel the tension of the panel. So when it loosens up, as it glides more, I know that's another idea.
So tap water, spritz some water on, treat the spot, move on, Yeah.
Simple in, like we said, 10 passes forward and back, wipe it off with a little bit of 3000, and most of the time you've got it. If you haven't got it, that's when you need to make a conscious decision.
Make a call, right?
If you go more,
if I got 185 microns, I could probably go at it another time.
I mean, we went to the 10th degree on that hood where I took 400 grit on an OEM panel all the way up, and we removed how many microns? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was 8 or 9, something like that.
That's not a whole lot.
But that was after we followed the whole process all the way through.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we still had paint on there. Absolute no, but I wanted to show if you are consistent and you're watching your process and you're not being careless, essentially. Yes, we're going outside the box. But if we have a consistent process and we understand from beginning to finish, we're able to do some crazy absolute results with something that's not meant to be done.
So polishing, we talked about earlier, we talked about the different products and used them. Polishing, the conclusion I'm taking from it is just time out of the machine.
Time spent, more cars that
a new concept to me is looking through the polish. That's something you guys taught me here this week, and I never encountered, never even considered.
And really,
still don't know if I can do it.
It's okay, just more and more. If you're being aware of that is more than half the battle, because now that we've sort of discussed and that you've realized that, I see why you guys polish the way that you do, because you're not as fixated on the actual stroke patterns that you're doing with the cross-hatching motion and are actually trying to accomplish a couple things, not only control the amount of heat that you're inducing into the panel, but then also being able to cover larger surface areas in shorter amounts of time by focusing through the product and using the lights as your guide to be able to knock out scratches, and hence not having to do as many wipe-offs between the cycles to
Right,
save
and the
more
proof
time.
is right here, left to right.
Sure.
And time.
You know, because, yeah, I mean, just, I never even considered not doing a crosshatch, and I know that if I start doing that, people are going to be losing their minds.
Oh, and we get it all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't tell you how many times people are commenting and saying, "Oh, your hand movements are too fast. What are
everything
you
is
doing?
wrong."
That's
Yeah,
wrong.
speed is
That's
wrong.
ridiculous." And
Well, I would argue, wipe the polish off, and what does that look like, right?
that's where it comes to, between our very unconventional methods of how we attack a panel to even the modifications on our machines.
To our light setups.
To our light setups.
Everything.
Most people would argue that in theory that technically should not work.
And-
And it's kind of, well, give it a shot. If it's for you, great. If it's not, but proof's in the pudding.
Right, and that's what's so cool about all of this, and it's cool about you guys, is like, I don't know what I'm going to adopt. I'm just going to try it all, and we'll see what happens, you know?
Whatever fits your bill. I mean, we can go back to your sanding section. I asked you after you finished it, I said, what do you see?
Right.
And what did you see here as opposed
So I want this, but am I willing to remove that much paint? You know, am I removing, you know, because I took out at least one compounding cycle. You know, because let's say I could compound the car 6 times in its life or 5 times in its life. Well, now I can only do it 3 because I've sanded on it. But that looks better.
Why does it look better? What did you see differently between here and sanding it just a little bit?
Well, we flattened out the peel, right?
Yeah.
So so if, you know, let's say orange peel is a circle, well, there's circle and little you know, waves in it. So we took out some of the waves. The circle's still there, but now we made it a flat circle instead of a
Knock
wavy
the top
circle.
off a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
And you said you saw more clarity and the color actually looked different.
Yeah.
So that's a testament to you were thorough, you were consistent,
Right.
hence you did the job fairly quickly.
Yeah,
A
and
fantastic result.
I mean, it's not like we stood here and sanded for 12 hours a day. I've sanded maybe 4 or 5 times in the last day, and I'm able to get it done. So that was the
great
big
result.
question of this whole weekend, or this whole 2-day project, is could we get to the point to where I could feel comfortable grabbing some 2,000 or 3,000 grit and doing it so that I could compound it out,
Yeah.
you know, and not be left with a mess.
With a mess.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys coming here and taking me through this process. I've learned a lot.
Our pleasure.
Processing it. I'll process it probably best when I'm editing the videos back. I hope this series is helpful to you guys. Getting to see how Jason and Andy do it, and just taking all of this years and years and decades of experience, and we're jamming it down your throat in a very long, very normal Obsessed Garage, give you all the detail series. But I think my question is answered. I have all this paper now, about hundreds of dollars worth of paper, and blocks and all this stuff.
Different compounds, and pads.
Right. So I have all this stuff now. Could I, at the end of a 2-day training, could I use it? And I think I can.
Yeah.
And I think I can do it.
I've seen your confidence go up tremendously from the time we came yesterday morning to now.
Right, and so, can a dude who has maybe a few hundred hours under a machine, can you grab some paper, can you sand, and add it when it fits to your process? I think 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not 98, 100%. You can do it.
And like the first conversation, we had at SEMA, I said, be ready to have your mind kind of blown. And that's not egotistical, it's just we're cramming so much information, but also doing it in a very systematic, simple method.
Right.
And
Cool.
you definitely accomplished it.
Awesome, guys.
I think we did.
Well, stay tuned. I'm gonna get. I'll probably have you guys separately just so I can pull the whole story. But I'm going to have on the podcast, I'm going to have you guys, if you're willing, I'm going to have you on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And get, I like the story, the life story, and I'm going to pull it out of you. And so we'll do that, separately on the podcast. I'm also going to have some of the products in the store. Certainly the polish holder, I think it's awesome. I like to think I had a little bit of say in why you guys made that thing. So.
Definitely had.
You did, absolutely.
Definitely did. Absolutely. That's
So we'll find out if the people that are watching this, if I'm right or wrong, we'll see. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And I know this was crazy. Stay tuned for more of it. Maybe not this crazy, but we'll keep adding this stuff to the channel. Thanks for watching. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.